Good morning everyone, Starzard here coming at you with another review. In today's review we're going to be talking about Blasphemous for the Nintendo Switch. Blasphemous can be described as a Soulstroidvania, which is actually a term that I just recently kind of discovered. So what that means is that it's somewhat similar to Dark Souls in a sense that it is difficult and has kind of a similar revival feature. And then obviously Metroidvania because it looks and plays like a classic Metroidvania. But the real magic lies in the gory pixel art. This game looks gorgeous. In Blasphemous, you play as the Penitent One, who begins his quest in a pile of bodies of people who look very much like you with the cone head and everything. So right off the bat you know shit's not good. But the only way to figure out who you are and what your goal is by reading the lore of the items you collect, talking to the NPCs, and just exploring the world. The story is extremely cryptic, and even though I've gotten both endings and I've beaten the game, I still haven't quite figured it out. But I will say I was sucked in the entire time. When it comes to controls and combat, the Penitent One attacks with a sword, and you utilize combos, some of which can be unlocked as you progress. The Penitent One also utilizes a fervor bar, which is expended by using prayers, which are essentially special attacks. These prayers can do anything from increasing the speed of your attacks, increasing the strength of your attacks, creating shields that spin around you, or even raining down lasers from the freaking sky. Although these specials sound strong, getting them off requires plunging your sword into the ground, and most of the time I would get hit in the process of making prayers, and they became essentially worthless. It was better just to straight up attack. Other options you have in combat are dodging, parrying, and healing. Every enemy has different patterns and different ways it attacks. Learning these patterns and deciding whether you need to parry or dodge is extremely important, and you will utilize both of these. When it comes to healing, it's pretty nasty. You smash a vial of your enemy's blood right into your face, and that is how you heal. Now, while combat can be kind of satisfying, it is sort of clunky, but you will adapt to it as you go. There were times when you would fight an enemy that you would get stun locked into one of their special moves, so they would hit you with a move, you'd stand up, you get hit with the same move, you stand up, you get hit with the same move, and then you die. So certain enemies could take you from 100 health to 0 health in a blink of an eye. I don't know if this was planned or if this is just a design overlook. Now, while combat is something you can get used to, platforming on the other hand definitely is the weakest aspect of the game. Jumping across spike pits became more of a chore than it should have been. And this was due to requiring almost pixel perfect jumps. If you were a pixel off and jumped a pixel too soon, you would fall into spikes, and while it doesn't sound extremely bad, it would take you all the way back to the save point. Why is that bad, you ask? Because the save points were so few and far between that it just became extremely frustrating, and the platforming itself left a lot to be desired. Maybe if the save points were a little bit closer to each other, it wouldn't be as bad, but the spike pits just felt really cheap. And then of course you have grabbing ledges, which was also kind of a hit or miss on whether he'd grab it or not. Again, the clunkiness really shows when it comes to the platforming. When it comes to graphics and art style, I believe this is where the game truly shines. It's gory, it's dark, it's sadistic, and despite all of that, it's an absolutely beautiful game. Sprites of the enemies and bosses are truly a wonder, and I was always excited to see what the next boss had in store, what the next enemy had in store. Unfortunately, they don't have like a monster guide for this game, which I hope they do provide in a future update or something, because a monster guide would be perfect, because the sprites and the monsters and bosses in this game were just sick, and I don't know who designed them or who thought this shit up, but it was sadistic. I loved it. It was the highlight of this game. When it comes to the soundtrack, the music is dark and exactly what you'd expect for a game like this. I have absolutely no complaints about the soundtrack. It's not going to blow you away, but it did provide a good atmosphere. Blasphemous isn't a bad game, but as I was playing through it, there were a handful of bugs I did encounter. On numerous occasions, I would glitch into walls or hit a certain spot on platforms where I couldn't move left, couldn't move right. I couldn't do anything but swing my sword, and I'd have to quit back to the menu, and it really took me out of the immersion when you would get stuck in a glitch like that. There's also a game-breaking bug that hasn't been patched yet. Although they did recently put out a patch, they did miss this one, so a lot of people are waiting for this patch to get out so they can continue on with their game because they don't want to restart. And I don't blame them because this game is kind of tedious. When it comes to gameplay time, I completed about 92.5% of the game in about 20 hours. The other 5% I was missing was just collectibles that I chose not to go after. There's also 2 endings. People dub these 2 endings the good ending and the bad ending, although I think both endings are very good. I actually prefer the bad ending because it's so ominous. no spoilers here, but I do prefer the bad ending. Blasphemous is $24.99 on the eShop. For 20 to 30 hours of gameplay, that's not too bad. So here are my final thoughts on Blasphemous. Blasphemous is a good addition to the Nintendo Switch catalog. When it comes to Metroidvanias, like I said, it's good. Its dark and gory art style and presentation is truly something we've never seen before. And honestly, that alone will lure a lot of people into buying this game, just like it did with me. But the clunkiness of the combat, the constant backtracking, the poor platforming, and the bugs and glitches really hold this good game from being a great game. Despite all those cons, I still found myself wanting to play it. I still found myself sucked into it. And this is why I give Blasphemous an 8 out of 10. If you enjoyed today's video of Blasphemous for the Nintendo Switch, be sure to leave a like, be sure to subscribe, and let me know down in the comments what you thought about this game. If you did encounter those bugs and glitches, just let me know down in the comments your final thoughts about this game, and maybe what you rate this game. I'd love to see what your guys' thoughts are on this one, because it was definitely an interesting game to play. And as always, thank you all for watching, and have a fantastic weekend.